Good evening, everyone. Welcome to this very special Christmas Eve service. My name is Tracy Weiser, and I, along with George Johnson, will be your worship partners tonight. Please note that our service is being recorded. If you'd like to see tonight's order of service, it's being posted in the chat. I'd like to explicitly thank Denise Aiken, Bruce Forsman, Julie Hassett, Bob and Lori Tice, and Nanetta Shatakshian for their singing on tonight's carols, recorded last Christmas and creating new joy this year. Have young ones at home. We begin tonight's service with a chalice lighting from Reverend David Breeden. If you also have a chalice at home and would like to light one there, please feel free to join me. And as always, if you like, we invite you to write the name of your town or street in the chat as a way of reminding us, even tonight we're apart, we are also together here in space and time. I will now light my chalice with some help. While I read. In this holiday season, may the darkness of winter be dispelled in this festival of light. And may the darkness of ignorance be dispelled in the strength of compassion, reason, and sharing.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Westminster Online. My name is Ellen Quadgrass. I am the minister here, and it's been so great to watch you all hop onto this meeting and see many of your faces. I'm really happy to be with you. Even as we have to acknowledge this is not how we expected this night would look. This is not what we wanted to be happening in this season. I know many of you have made difficult decisions to cancel holiday plans. There are many wrenches in many works, and we are having to scale back expectations real time, none of which is easy. And at the same time, here we are with fresh snow outside the windows, anticipating carols sung with loving care and a beautiful story told, woven from writings both familiar and brand new. And most importantly, we are here together in spirit on this special night. As Earl K. Holt, Christmas will come. Not because of all the outward show of the season, our attempt to create it, to control it, to make it come. It will come. But it may come in spite of, not because of our efforts. Often it comes not in the outward show, but in inner darkness. The wise men could see the star because of the night. It was a dark and lonely cave beside that inn that was filled by the birth of love. And the shepherds who waited on a darkened hillside and trembled in fear were the first to hear the good news. Christmas is the promise that our emptiness will be filled, our hunger assuaged, and the deepest darkness filled with light. It is a promise made to people walking in darkness, the sad, the weary, the homeless, the hopeless. Christmas will come. We cannot make it come. And it may come most fully when we are sure it will not come. The vain trappings of the season may disguise a great emptiness, but that emptiness, waiting to be filled, is the true heart of Christmas. That darkness is Christmas, waiting to be born. I invite you to join me in singing our opening carol, Come All Ye Faithful.
Oh, come all ye faithful, joyful and triumphant. Oh, come ye to Bethlehem. Come and behold him, born the King of angels. Venite adoremus, venite adoremus, venite adoremus Dominum. Lo, humble shepherds, hasting to his cradle, leaving their flocks in the fields, draw near. We too with gladness thither bend our footsteps. Venite adoremus, venite adoremus, venite adoremus Dominum. Sing choirs of angels, sing in exaltation. Oh, sing all ye citizens of heaven above. Glory to God, all glory in the highest. Venite adoremus, venite adoremus, venite adoremus Dominum.
I invite you to join with me in saying Westminster's Unison Affirmation, which is being posted in the chat. Love is the spirit of this church, and service its mission. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. Imagine that the ancient story is radically new. Imagine that after a lifetime of hearing account after account of men and women bowing abjectly before the might of kings and emperors, dictators and tyrants, you hear a story in which 3 kings kneel before a tiny child in praise of civility. The ancient story we tell today has its beginnings in the Bible, sketched out in a few short, age-old verses, tiny windows on the past in which they were written. And after each original Bible story, we will hear a short reflection, but this time in modern language, each another window into this story. We bring to you here that ancient story ever new. Let us listen to that story.
Our biblical reading on the birth story is from the book of Luke, chapter 2, verses 1 through 7. In those days, Caesar Augustus issued a decree that a census should be taken of the entire Roman world. This was the first census that took place while Quirinius was governor of Syria. And everyone went to their own town to register. So Joseph also went up from the town of Nazareth in Galilee to Judea, to Bethlehem, the town of David, because he belonged to the house and line of David. He went there to register with Mary, who was pledged to be married to him and was expecting a child. While they were there, the time came for the baby to be born, and she gave birth to her firstborn, a son. She wrapped him in cloth and placed him in the manger, because there was no guest room available for them.
Our modern reading on birth is Star Child by Barbara Behrens. There are millions and millions of children who go to sleep every night. And there are millions of stars shining in the sky. Some say the stars are places where love shines through. Some say there is one star for every child, and that each time a child is born, there is another place where love shines through. Once upon a time, there were a man and a woman to whom was born a baby, a perfectly lovely child like you. This baby's mother and father knew for sure that he was a child of God, a gift from heaven, just like you. And so it happened that his star was very, very bright on the night that he was born. It was so, I just can't tell you how bright it was. Still, most people did not notice this bright, bright, shining star. They had too much to do to be looking out at stars. They were too busy inside their lighted homes. And it is hard to see the stars when the lights are on, isn't it? Outside in the darkness on the hills were some shepherds. Often they built fires because they were afraid of the dark, but the fires they built were too small for the big darkness. Otherwise, there wasn't much to do out there on the night hills, so the shepherds were always looking up at the shining stars in the dark sky. Of course, they saw the bright star of the new baby. The only other people to see this star were 3 wise men. They had big houses with lots of lights and all shiny treasures anyone could ever wish to have. Yet each of them still had one big wish. They wished to find something brighter and better than all the treasures on earth. The wise men saw the star because they were looking for light. So the only people who saw the star of the baby were shepherds who had almost nothing, and 3 wise men who had almost everything. It was such an amazing, bright, and beautiful star. The shepherds and wise men all got up and followed it. They walked and walked until finally they were standing under the star's light. There they saw the star child with his star mother and star father. And suddenly they were filled with love. Now they could see, too, that the baby was a child of God. And they saw that the light of the wonderful star was love. When we look out the window, we can see if there are stars out tonight. 1 star for every child of God. 1 star for you.
One star for each person ever born. 1 star for you. Each person is special and unique and precious. And sometimes one of our precious people needs a little help. Whether that's someone in this community who needs help with doctor bills or rent or groceries, or whether it's someone beyond this community who needs food or repaired so they get to their new job, or blankets in the cold. Your gifts to the minister's discretionary fund have already made all that and more possible for people past year. Thank you for the donations that enabled us to do that. And thank you for whatever you can do to continue to make this kind of help possible in the coming year. The link to the donation page will be posted in the chat. Please click on the drop down that says Minister's Discretionary Fund, or of course, you can always mail a check to the church after the service. The offering will now be given and received with gratitude.
The story of the three wise men. There were three who came to Jerusalem looking for this child, the King of the Jews. King Herod felt threatened and instructed the wise men to seek out the child and tell the king where he could be found. And then, as it is written in the book of Matthew, chapter 2, verses 9 through 12, they went their way, and lo, the star which they had seen in the east went before them, till it came to rest over the place where the child was. When they saw the star, they rejoiced exceedingly with great joy. And going into the house, they saw the child with Mary, his mother, and they fell down and worshipped him. Then, opening their treasures, they offered him gifts, gold and frankincense and myrrh. And being warned in a dream not to return to Herod, they departed to their own country by another way.
Our modern reading is a Christmas prayer by Reverend Maureen Killeran. Not gold, nor myrrh, nor even frankincense would I have for you this season, but simple gifts, the ones that are hardest to find, the ones that are perfect, even for those who have everything, if such there be. I would, if I could, have for you the gift of courage, the strength to face the gauntlets only you can name, and the firmness in your heart to know that you, yes, you, can be a bearer of the quiet dignity that is the human glorified. I would, if by my intention I could make it happen, have for you the gift of connection, the sense of standing on the hinge of time, touching past and future, standing with certainty that you, yes, you, are the point where it all comes together. I would, if wishing could make it so, have for you the gift of community, a center of love and challenge to convince you in your soul that you, yes, you, are a source of light in a world too long believing in the dark. Not gold, nor myrrh, nor even frankincense would I have for you this season, but simple gifts, the ones that are hardest to find, the ones that are perfect, even for those who have everything, if such there be. Let us join now in singing We Three Kings of Orient Are. Our biblical reading on the angels is from the book of Luke, chapter 2, verses 8 through 20. And there were shepherds living out in the fields nearby, keeping watch over their flocks at night. An angel of the Lord appeared to them, and the glory of the Lord shone around them, and they were terrified. But the angel said to them, "Do not be afraid. Bring you good news that will cause great joy for all the people. Today in the town of David, a Savior has been born to you. He is the Messiah, the Lord. There will be a sign to you, a baby wrapped in cloths and lying in a manger." Suddenly, a great company of the heavenly host appeared with the angel, praising God and singing, "Glory to God in the highest heaven, and on earth, peace to those on whom his favor rests." When the angels left them and gone into heaven, the shepherds said to one another, "Let's go to Bethlehem and see this thing that just has happened, which the Lord has told us about." So they hurried off and found Mary and Joseph and the baby who was lying in the manger. When they had seen him, they spread the word concerning what had been told them about this child, and all who heard it were amazed at what the shepherds said to them. But Mary treasured up all these things and pondered them in her heart. The shepherds returned, glorifying and praising God for all the things they had heard and seen, which were just as they had been told.
Our modern reflection on the shepherds is from a book called All Creation Waits by Gail Boss. On our way to the woods, my dog veered left off the path. I've learned that following her on days I'm awake leads to revelation. She brought me to a small manger made of new wood, freshly sawed and nailed together. Made in the traditional nativity scene shape, the manger had been placed at the edge of the woods. It was empty. I suspected the 4 children living in the house nearby. Outdoors often, aided by their parents, they played games in the woods involving lightsabers, capes, and crowns. They are still seers. The manger appeared a week into Advent. Brittle brown leaves from the oak above blew into it and out of it. Then, one day, the manger was not empty. It was filled to the brim with hay. 2 days later, the hay had been dumped onto the ground and the manger moved a few feet away. It was now half full of shelled corn. A single fox squirrel sat up in the manger, leisurely eating kernel after kernel. I found the children pulling each other through the snow on sleds. "Tell me about this manger," I said. The oldest, a boy, said, "It's for the deer. We like to watch them." "Next, we're going to put in a hunk of salt." "It's for the animals," interrupted the smallest, a girl, who had her head tipped back, mouth open to taste the falling flakes. In the fullness of time, the Christmas story says a girl gave birth ringed by animals. She lay the baby in one of their feeding troughs, where animal bodies would warm the air around his fresh-born human body. Mother and child fell asleep and woke to their chuffs and shuffling hooves, their calls, and the shuddering of their hides. Later, sheep herders, smelling of dirt, damp wool, and milk, crowded into the stable. Out in the wild night fields, these animal men sitting in the dark were the first to get the word. A baby had been born, they were told, who would show people the way out of their small, pinched lives. A way to abandon themselves to the ever-present, unstoppable current of love that carries all things to radiant wholeness. To recognize him, they should look for a child at home among animals. At the edge of the woods where these children put out corn and salt and watch for them and name them and speak to them, the animals wait. Will they one day find the manger empty, the children indoors? So much rushes children into dropping their capes and their crowns in the leaf meal. So much clamors and flashes for their attention. As they grow, will they lose the sight that sees light and spirit in other creatures? Or will they, despite the rush and clamor. Find irresistible the beauty quietly radiating from everything that is. To the animals, it makes all the difference. Their hope and the hope of all that breathes is that human ones abandon themselves to the one great love. For that, all creation waits. Let us join in singing the first two verses of the first Noel.
The Christmas story. A simple girl gives birth surrounded by animals, later visited by sheep herders, smelling of dirt, damp wool, and milk. This girl and her not yet betrothed find a moment of peace in rough circumstances, a moment of stillness in difficult, unnerving times. The shame of unwed motherhood hanging over them, the threat of a powerful, corrupt figure looming in the background without protection, exposed to the elements. These two find themselves at a moment in history that was already full of insecurity and uncertainty. And yet, at every step of the way, what are the characters in this story told? Fear not. These are the words the angel has for Mary when she is first told her disconcerting pregnancy news. These are the words the shepherds hear when the angels appear with stunning majesty against that broad black sky. And these are words, frankly, that are used in the Bible more than 144 times, more than just about any other phrase in the Bible. Fear not. Fear not. Fear not, Mary. I am with you. Fear not, shepherds. Follow me. Fear not, good people. There is more here than meets the eye. More here in your unnerving times than you can grasp. More here for you to come to know about how simple goodness works in the world. Fear not. I have good news. Something beautiful is being born. Fear can be tricky for us humans. On the one hand, we need to feel fear. It reminds us to be attentive, keeps us on our toes, and appropriately cautious when there is danger. On the other hand, we can get stuck there in worry and anxiety. Some have said there is no greater thief, stealing your serenity, your stillness, even your agency. This corrosive kind of fear will tell us lies, loom large, and try to keep us small, pinching our lives and our hearts. And this kind of fear can lead us in our aversion to it, in our attempt to escape it or block it out. This kind of fear can lead us to do all kinds of foolish and harmful things to one another or to ourselves. Some say it's inevitable. Fear will always bend our will and take us down, creating conflict, harm, or hate. Fear is too strong, they say. It will always win. But do not be afraid, the angels say. Do not give in to your fear. I bring you good news. There is a force that dissolves fear, diffuses it, transforms it, and can change everything. An ever-present, unstoppable current of love that carries all things to radiant wholeness. The kind of love you find in small children, in infants, who are undefended, who don't run from fear, who don't run from experience, who are so open to life and who feel it, all of it. There is a saying, courage is fear that has said its prayers. Courage is fear that has been faced with an open heart and a listening ear for the gift of wisdom in the stillness. What if we chose that? What if, when angels come to us heralding unnerving change, when our uncertain times draw out our anxiety, when we want to look away, shut down, stay small, or give in, what if instead we chose open-hearted, child-inspired, courageous love? It can take so many forms. I'm thinking of regular people and inspirational people who have done that in our era with our particular forms of fear and oppression. 40 years ago, Reverend Victoria Safford writes, to march in the streets of this city or any city as a gay man or a lesbian openly must have taken wild courage, incredible courage, outrageous imagination. Those who were there will tell us, well, courage, yes, and certainly imagination. To march at that time was a dangerous risk. People have marched with paper bags on their heads to guard their lives and livelihoods. Teachers, police officers, neighbors, tenants, daycare providers, clergy, she writes. But there was more. They will tell us that once you have glimpsed the world as it might be, as it ought to be, it's going to be, however that vision appears to you, it is impossible to live compliant and complacent anymore in the world as it is. Thousands of courageous souls coming forward decade after decade to birth a new world. Thousands who are part of a much longer, older, wider, deeper river of people, generation after generation, agitating, marching, writing, singing, crying out for rights, dignity, for air and light and change, pouring their hearts into a vision, no longer living complacent in the world as it is. Bell Hooks is just one name in so many that come to mind in this moment, beauty and courage being born still. Or another snapshot, also from Victoria Safford, describing a photograph, a picture in a magazine that she wrote inspires and troubles her, calling her to account in ways she would rather not be called. It's of a woman with two children lying on a bed, their arms flung across her body carelessly, as if it were the most natural thing in the world. The most ordinary, peaceful afternoon, one child blissfully asleep, the other just a little bit awake. The woman is lying on her side, open eyes, with an expression of alert concern, maybe fear, but also underneath a certain calm and deep intensity. It is a beautiful face for these reasons. The caption reads, Irene Siegel, Jewish American, sleeps in the home of a Palestinian family in Beit Jala as part of a human shield campaign to deter Israeli shelling of Palestinian homes. She says, Magdalene, my Palestinian hostess, looked at me sideways and said softly, Are you Jewish? And I nodded. She threw her arms around me and said, You know, I love you, Irene. I love you like a sister. And I cried, and so did she. And then she talked to me until 2 a.m. about everything. Her fears, her pain, her experiences, everything she had held inside for so long, surrounded as she is by a community who are all suffering the same pain. As if it were the most natural thing in the world for this American Jew to be lying on that bed in that village in this moment, guarding those children with her body, her heart, her passion, as if they were her own. Regular and inspirational people changing the world with love. Open, courageous, fear melting, hate averting love. Angels, so often depicted as very young children, call to us, challenge us, frighten us, but abide with us. A call of love. May it be born among us. In this season of love, hope is again in the faces of children. Hope spreads around the earth, brightening all things, even hate, crouching in dark corridors. In joy, we think we hear a whisper. At first, it is too soft, then only half heard. We listen carefully as it gathers strength. The word is peace. It is what we have hungered for. Not just the absence of war, but true peace, security for our beloveds and their beloveds. We, Baptist and Buddhist, Methodist and Muslim, say, come, peace. Come and fill us and our world with your majesty, so we may learn by your shimmering light how to look beyond complexion and see community. At this holy instant, we welcome the precious advent of trust. We shout with glorious tongues at the coming of hope to celebrate the promise of peace. And we say, peace, my sibling, peace, my kin, peace, my soul. I invite you, if you like, to take a moment to turn down the lights in your space. I also invite you to grab your matches or lighter and your candle or candles. I'll give you a moment to do that. I see folks off screen grabbing some candles and turning down some lights. And this would be the moment too where you can switch to gallery mode so you can see everyone else with their candles. I'm gonna light mine as well. As we prepare for the lighting of our candles, I think I lit mine too soon. As we prepare for the lighting of our candles, let us be still in the darkness of our sacred space and listen to the quiet around us. For even in the quiet, there is the gentle sense of presence with others. Let us feel the warmth of this community, knowing we are not alone. For in the quiet shadow is the glow of life within all. Let us know in the darkness the gift each candle bears, a small flame, a diminutive light, yet the wondrous gift to kindle another's glow. And even though we are apart and cannot physically light the candles of others across the town, the state, or the world, know that the light in our hearts is more powerful even than the flame of any candle. And this light kindles across distance, across space and time, lighting our hearts as one together, as hope for love and peace and goodwill fills this night. Let us now join in singing Silent Night together.
Silent night, holy night.
when the song of the angels is stilled, when the star in the sky is gone, when the kings and princes have gone home and the shepherds are back with their flock, the work of Christmas begins. To find the lost, to heal the broken, to feed the hungry, release the prisoner, rebuild the nations, to bring peace among the people, to make music in the heart. Amen. And I invite you to blow out your candles. Go in peace if you're going, or please stay if you